What if I told you there are no limits on a Roth IRA? How would you feel? Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about that if you meet this specific criteria, you may have no limits on how much you can put to a Roth depending on one thing, and that is if you have a tax-deferred investment that you have access to and can do a strategy called a Roth conversion. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's first understand why people get the misconception that I can only put in $6,500 a year into my Roth IRA. Or maybe if you're over 50, you can put in a catch-up and now you can put in $7,500 a year. But that's all you can do, right? We can't do any more than that. That's correct if you're talking about contributions. Today we're going to talk about something called a Roth conversion, where you could take your entire IRA and convert it to a Roth if you wanted to. There's no $7,500 limit. If you have $100,000 there, you can convert it. If you have $1 million there, you can convert it. And I'll tell you a funny story. We had a guy come in to see us one day. He had $3 million. He was watching one of my videos. He said, "Joe, I love this idea of this Roth conversion. I want to Roth convert everything, and I want you to help me with it." And I simply laughed, and I said, pulled out my calculator, and I said, "Oh, you want to pay $1.2 million in taxes?" And of course he said no. And so we didn't necessarily look to convert everything that year, but we looked to convert a particular amount each year that made sense for his situation and what his goals are. So understand this Roth conversion. You could convert everything, but should you? But this is also a great opportunity to try to get more over to the tax-free investment. And we do a lot of fun events for people in our community. And we always ask them, if you had a magic wand, do you want your money in a IRA or a Roth IRA? And what do you think people say? They obviously say a Roth IRA. And so I think of this Roth conversion as almost that dump truck so that you can put more money into that Roth in strategic ways. Whereas that Roth contribution, that $6,500 or that $7,500 we talked about earlier, that may only be a shovel. So let's talk about how we can dump truck more money into this tax-free vehicle of a Roth IRA. So understand with this Roth conversion idea, there's a couple things you have to be aware of to understand if this is right for you and if you can even do this. So for example, let's say you are 55 years old and you have a 401k. Well, if you have a 401k and you're still working with that company, you may not be able to do what's called an in-plan Roth conversion, which means you can't move that 401k to a Roth. Now, if you're 55 and you have a 401k from a previous job, this is something you can look at doing. You can take that previous job's 401k now that you're separated, and you can do what's called a direct rollover into an IRA, and then you take it from the IRA and you convert it to a Roth, and you'll have the opportunity to have more money in a Roth. Now, I know I'm missing something. We got to pay those taxes right now, so make sure you're planning for how you're going to pay those taxes and if it makes sense to see how much tax you're going to have to pay. And like I said earlier, we don't typically recommend everyone to do everything, but certain amounts over time could typically make sense. But let's share another example. Let's say you are 59 and a half and you're still working with the company that has your 401k. Well, in this instance, you may be able to do what's called an in-service rollover, and you may be able to move your current 401k, the principal of it, to an IRA and then do this Roth conversion we're talking about, and still have the ability to get that match from that 401k ongoing. And so this is a special provision that most 401ks allow for you to do some tax planning before you actually retire. And so that could be an opportunity for you to look out for if that's you. And understand if you have an IRA, a traditional IRA, you can convert that at any time. The only concern to have of converting an IRA or 401k before 59 and a half is how are you going to pay the taxes? If you are under 59 and a half and you say, I want to withhold the taxes from the investment, you're going to have to pay a penalty. And so what we typically want to see people do is if we do a conversion before 59 and a half, let's make sure that we can pay this taxes out of our pocket or from a different investment account where there's no penalties to take it out from. And so that's going to take some more planning to make sure you do that the right way. But understand too, there's some retirement accounts out there, like the TSP is one, for example. Here in Ohio, the Ohio Deferred Comp is an example, where if you retire before 59 and a half and you meet the certain requirements that they have, you could take out money with no penalty from that account, that TSP, for example. So you could be 58, be fully retired, and you could take out that money, or let's say you wanted to convert it, you could convert that money to a Roth, and you could just pay the taxes out of that TSP. So maybe you don't have the money to do so. So that's a situation you could do that if you retire early and you have a plan that allows that. Not all plans allow that, but could be something to look into. There's also something called the Rule of 55, which we've done another video on that's gained some traction, that explains that opportunity of taking money out early if you want to, or maybe do the Roth conversion idea that we've discussed. So hopefully that helps you understand how to get more money to a Roth, and there is no limits on this type of strategy. If you're in the right position, this could make a lot of sense. Just make sure you do your due diligence and run your numbers to see if the decision you're making now is going to put you a better place tomorrow.